Yeah, it wasn't very good. So Black Mirror Bandersnatch was the new, or is the new Netflix choose your own adventure game that they made. I don't know if you would call it a game or a movie or an episode. I don't know. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. And honestly, it was just a waste of potential in my opinion. I was really hoping for this to be great, and it was just ultimately underwhelming. But let me start with some positives. The technology worked flawlessly. The programmers at Netflix really nailed it. Making your choices flowed, perfectly into whatever choice you made. The scenes don't cut; it just keeps on going. And I thought, or I mean, if it does, it probably does cut, but it's not really noticeable. And I thought that was really impressive. Um, yeah, it's just the story itself and the story. It's just not that great. It's very much up its own ass. Like it thinks it's smarter than it really is, and honestly, at times I thought it got really corny. Whereas it should use the whole choose your own adventure gimmick as a tool to tell a great story, it really just relies on it way too heavily, and at times, like I said before, it just gets really corny. I don't want to spoil it, but it just does some stuff that are just kind of ridiculous and was something that I was really hoping that they didn't do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the episode just doesn't have anything to say. Great Black Mirror episodes, they sort of warn you about, a terrible thing that could happen if technology advances, if certain types of technology advances, and then, it sort of warns you about bad stuff that can happen. This has none of that. There's no message to the episode whatsoever. It's, as to what's actually happening is incredibly vague. It just doesn't really say anything. There's things that happen, and by the end of it, it's just like, it could be this, but it could also just be this. Yeah, so what I really didn't like about it was just the heavily it just relies on the whole choose your own adventure gimmick, right? Where it like incorporates you making choices into the story, and it just didn't work at all. Like the bit where he finds out that, where you can choose that Netflix is, that you're a viewer on Netflix, and you're making choices for him, and he learns about it, like all that stuff, it just didn't work. And then, so from what I could tell, there were like three endings, right? There's the one ending where you can kill your dad. There's the one ending where you like find out what's going on, I think. Yeah. And then there's the ending where you're talking to the psychiatrist, and then you like get into this weird fight with her, and then your dad drags you out. And from those three endings, the conclusion that I drew was that he's just crazy. Okay, but then what's the whole thing with us making choices and him realizing that it's Netflix? And then what about the other computer hack, the computer coder, that he's also aware of what's happening, but there's the one ending where he jumps off the balcony, that goes nowhere. Like he was aware of what's happening, but that went nowhere. And all the endings sort of suggest that the guy is just crazy. So, like ultimately, like what's the point of everything that happened? Like nothing. Like it just had nothing to say. And Black Mirror episodes usually have something to say. And yeah, like this it was just a big waste of potential in my opinion. But I mean, and like honestly, I guess my main gripe with the episode, game, movie, whatever the hell you want to call it, is that at the end of the day, it's just kind of pointless, no meaning, nothing. It doesn't say anything about anything. And I mean, you know, like the actors, they're fine. You know, the technology works great, as I said before. Um, it's just, yeah, the story just wasn't particularly interesting. But I mean, would I recommend it? Yeah. I mean, it's on Netflix, it's free, so you might as well try it out. The technology is really cool, and I think that they can do something really interesting with it in the future. So, yeah, if you've seen it, let me know. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Maybe there's another ending that's I missed that was interesting and sort of answers some of the questions that I had at the end of the that I had at the end of the day. Yeah, and if you enjoyed this review, comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell thing. That I don't really understand how any of this stuff works. Yeah.